Welcome back to another episode of Octavius the Crafter. So today, in the shop, I finally got my blacksmithy all set up here, and today we're going to be talking about the Whitlox Forge. I've set it up. I found the best way for my shop to set it up, and I just wanted to share this stuff with you guys. So before, I would have my forge set up on a set of sawhorses and a piece of plywood, and so it would just be completely open. It wouldn't have any of these modifications I put on it. But since I have a roof, it's an enclosed building now, I don't want coal shooting up and destroying my roof and melting it, because that put a lot of hard work into it, so I don't want that to go to waste. So my first initial idea was, I saw the original owner of the Whitlox Forge who created it. They created something similar to this, so I figured I'd try my hand at that. So what I did is I just took a piece of sheet metal, I think it came off an old oven, and I bent it to a shape to match this. And the next thing I noticed that it wouldn't really sit on here very well, so I got my buddy to come down here and weld a couple pieces of angle iron on there, so that way it would sit in here nice. Next thing I did was I drilled a hole in the top, and I added a tube that goes into the back. Let me show you guys the back. Here's the back of the shop. This is where the end of the tube for the forge sticks out. Note that I could have had just a piece of a hole stuck in the plywood, but because this thing gets very hot, sometimes there will even be flames shooting out of this tube. So what I had to do is I cut out a square, and I got a piece of aluminum, and I screwed it to the inside, and then I can put this through. Because I want to disperse the heat, I don't want to catch this plywood on fire.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So back to the inside. So for your tubing, if you want to do a similar setup to this, you cannot use just regular tubing for HVAC, because it'll melt. I had it melt on me, and so I knew I had to get some thick material. So what I did is I got these L brackets. These work good because they're nice and thick. And then I got a piece of this, some sort of sheet metal piece that came in the HVAC section of Home Depot, and I just screw clamped it on here. What it is it was like open and has these little notches on the end of it, so that way you can clip together. So that's what I did, and I hold it together with these hose clamps that only cost a few bucks. So, and then I also added this piece of sheet metal, so that way I could throw fuel in here and it wouldn't shoot out the back. Pretty simple setup, made out of scrap metal, didn't cost very much. The only thing I bought was this HVAC material and that piece of aluminum up there, but it's an overall pretty cheap to set up if you want it to be inside, because it doesn't like heat up the wood to where it burns, is because there's thick insulation right here and very thick fire bricks, so that keeps the heat. Like I've seen at some points I can touch the bottom of this and it won't melt my hand. But, even when it does get super hot to where I can't touch it, the paint doesn't melt off, so that's a good thing. Now, normally, all this wood wouldn't be right here, but I still have to process that. Normally, this is open, so I can use it for a workspace. But I have a hair dryer, and hair dryers are like the best thing for a blower. Now, I have it back here hooked up, and I just got some painter's tape on it. It fits perfectly. I use painter's tape, and it works great. My hair dryer does not overheat or anything like that. It does perfectly fine. Even on the low setting, it'll get metal real hot. When I used to have it open, I used to have this piece of sheet metal on the back to keep embers from going on top of the hair dryer, but I keep it back there just to kind of shield it from the heat anyways. And then I run an extension cord from the shop and hook it up to the hair dryer. Now, one of the reasons I like using the Whitlox Forge is because it's very self-sufficient. Because I can burn wood, and I have a large property and a wood shop, so I use a lot of wood. We do a lot of clearing, do a lot of wood projects, so I have all this wood scrap, which is great. So I can burn wood instead of using coal, which is expensive. And like a lot of wood like this will last a long time. Another thing you can use is charcoal. Like, you want to use lump charcoal if you do use charcoal, though. The only reason is because the briquettes are meant for a lower temperature with grilling, but some lump charcoal like that costs like 20-25 bucks at Home Depot. You get a big, like 30-pound bag. It'll last you a while. That's what I used at first. It doesn't hurt. It's just a little quicker and heats up faster. The only thing I advise if you're trying to be real tight on the budget is you could buy some, maybe use it for forge welding because it's better for that if you want to maintain a hot temperature, forge welding. But for general purpose, wood works great. If you just need a nice orange, bright red to make a pair of tongs, make some knives, it works great. The only thing I would say the Whitlox Forge is limited in is the depth, because the way I've had it set up, I can't really forge anything long like a sword if I need to heat a long piece of metal in the middle. I do have the mini version though, so it's not as long. The only thing I say though is if you did have to work around that, if you had to forge something long with the mini Whitlox Forge, is that you'd have to have it open on the back end, so that way you could extend it forward. But with my setup right here, with a wall and all that, I'm not really too worried about it. I'm forging little things right now, so I don't have to worry about it too much. But overall, the Whitlox Forge, I give 10 out of 10 because it works for all my needs. I set it on a wooden table and it won't melt. So overall, it's a great forge. You can burn wood, you can burn charcoal. It's not really meant for coal, but you wouldn't buy this if you weren't burning coal. It's a great beginner's forge. It's very easy to add a chimney or a smokestack to it. The only thing I say is a downside besides the length of it is the price, because it's about $110, $130 or something like that on Amazon. And it was bought for me, so I didn't pay out of pocket for it. If it were me, because I'm not rich or anything like that, most blacksmiths aren't, I would make something, get a piece of sheet metal like an old air compressor or something like that. But if you get this or you have money to buy it, I'd say it's a great forge. I give it a thumbs up. I'm not sponsored by Whitlox in any way or anything like that. I just saw a video of it. Someone bought it for me. I have to say it's a great forge. Hope you guys enjoyed the video of Octavius the Crafter. I will have a little bit of video of me forging with this. It was on a previous day, but now I got around to make this video. Make sure to subscribe and have an awesome day. Oh! And I have it turned the wrong way, so I'm going to lose all this heat. I guess I can just use that. Turn the fork. Wait. Wait, wear boots.
Yeah. I should probably get some.
I literally burned the dirt.